I love that he went and visited Mobius like one more time. Like, and it was back when they first got together in season 1,
and
when he's showing him the clips, and he's obviously not the same Loki at all.
Yeah.
Mobius doesn't know that. And they're having this conversation, and it's like, well, how do you decide? How do you choose? So essentially, we have, yes, he's in the TVA and all this,
but get some really depressing backstory on Mobius.
You do, but you get the human side of him.
100%.
Not just jet skis, haha, it's funny.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you get, he done fucked up.
He's like,
and he's had to live with it for this long.
And it was like, but he not only did he fuck up, his choice was not kill a child.
Yeah.
And then all this other stuff happened, and he's like, I didn't like either choice, and I didn't make either choice. Yeah. Someone stepped in and made it for me, and that's why I'm on the sidelines. And I thought that was so good. And then even the ending with him seeing that like he had a life on the timeline, and a version of him is still living that, and is all. I thought that was so good, so heartfelt.
And I like when then Loki shows up with He Who Remains and Sylvie at the end of season 1, basically. And we don't know yet. Loki, I feel like he knew, but we don't know that he's not going to kill Sylvie. Like, we don't know that that's not what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Even He Who Remains doesn't necessarily know that's what's going to happen.
Because he tries and he tries and he tries and tries and tries. He tries so many times, and he's like, I'm not going to kill you.
And when we find out that that's not what's going to happen, because Loki knows. Loki's gotten to the point where he has the solution, but he's not letting He Who Remains knows, because
he doesn't want him to.
Because the variants are still out there.
Well, that's the thing, is He Who Remains does not think that at any point Loki's going to use himself to do this. And when he does, it takes him out of it because he's dead. And now all the other variants are there. Yeah. That being said, with the legal stuff with Jonathan Majors, stuff like that, if it doesn't shake out to a position that Marvel is going to continue with them, please just recast him. Please. This whole thing of like not wanting to, like, it's a role. It's a role. There's other actors out there. Give other actors the chance to do this. As great as Jonathan Majors is, if they decide to not go forward with him because of the personal stuff, I promise you there is a black actor out there who can knock that out of the park. Don't just get rid of that role.
And like, I'm not disagreeing, because I would, that'd be great. I'd love to see that. But at the same time, when Loki season 2 ended, I felt Kang could have ended. Yes, I know variants are out there. I get that, but they don't need to address it, because to me, the end of season 2 was finite in some point. Like, you could make that decision.
Well, because he says in Mobius says, he's like, there was one that caused a little thing on Earth 616, which is, for people that don't know, that is the Marvel Comics universe that you're reading every week, is 616, the main universe. So it's cool that they acknowledge that, but they're also keeping an eye on all the variants.
Yes.
Because they understand who he is and what they is. So it almost, in a way, sets up a need for the Avengers in every single universe, or a superhero team in every single universe.
Which would be cool.
That being said, with the end of Miss Marvel, this now makes a lot more sense to me, because we have intact, flowing, living timelines that aren't constantly under the threat of destruction or takeover or things like that.
And that's what we talked about a little bit. So go watch the other video too. But we talked a little bit about, is I feel like the people in these universes, I know it's fiction, fanboys, don't fucking comment on my YouTube comments, that they are beginning to realize it's okay that these other universes, dimensions exist.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a bad thing.
Well, I mean, the TVA thought about it is because that's what Kang was telling them.
Right, exactly.
And the only reason you needed one sacred timeline is that he would be the only Kang. So they understand that, like, that is not the way we should have been doing this.
Right.
We should have made sure everything just exists, because branches are always forming and always going whatever. All you needed was somebody in charge, somebody who was willing to be in charge to keep all of that flowing.
And that's something they said a lot this season, was mass genocide.
Yeah.
By pruning, this is mass genocide.
Well,
so there was
the first episode would be, was it B-14, the hunter?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, those were all people. Those were all people with lives. Especially because in season 1, she learned, she's like, I existed.
Yeah.
Everyone here existed as something. And now we're just getting rid of all these people. So she has this giant change of heart.
Was I the only one who, and the shrinking box death, man.
Dude, what a good scene.
But
no.
The Game of Thrones, when the Game of Thrones girl, woman, whatever, who's the opposite of B-14, remember, you know who I'm talking about? I don't know her name.
Renslayer?
No. the older woman who was in Game of Thrones. She was the mom to the little bratty prince guy.
Was that her? The one breast?
Yeah,
exactly. That was her. Huh?
When she got killed, I didn't feel so bad. I was like, yeah.
So that scene was dark though.
Woo!
Puts all of them in a box and just crushes. I have to say the interrogation scene with Loki was outstanding because he's like, "What does this do?"
Yeah,
blip 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 blip. Like that was
talk about foreshadowing. Like, okay,
but man,
now
that
you got out. Then we're like,
that was dark.
Yikes.
But also, like, although that's the season finale of Loki, or series finale of Loki, I do feel like there are still threads that will be picked up if we do the Kang Dynasty and stuff like that. Because Renslayer wakes up at the end of time now, and there is the TVA floor that they were just standing on. So it's like she knows that everything ends eventually, including the TVA now. So what does she do with that knowledge at the end of time?
Well, and that's one.
Although, what is it, Eliath or the monster gets her right at the end. So but who knows?
That's one of those things where I feel like this is if I have an opinion as far as what Marvel kind of screwed up. To me, this opens the world to like the Eternals, to some of the bigger things like 100%. Bringing Galactus in and all that.
100%.
Why they did that earlier? I was like, that didn't make sense. Yeah. Now, if they did it, that would make sense. So, to me, a timing issue with what Marvel released is my biggest complaint, because I really feel with what happened with Loki, and we see the last vestige of him and the tree, this opens it for everything.
100%.
Anything's possible.
And that's why I said now at the end of Marvels, when you see Hank McCoy, you're like, oh, this actually is plausible to exist. Yeah. Deadpool now makes sense. No Way Home makes sense with all the other villains trying to get to Peter Parker. Like it did a good job of giving us this multiverse. The thing I really think we're going to move to with Marvel movies, and I'm sure I'll say this again before the next 3 years happen, but like I think what we're going to get to is a point where all of these movies become like James Bond films. It's less of a linear continuity, and you're just going to have new actors playing new heroes as popularity dictates what people want to see.
And they've done this in the comic books. It's
fine.
Like
we've done it.
We're
we've done
okay.
It. We've also done it with like every other franchise that exists in the world. Like this has been fun. It's been a fun ride, and I love the full story we're getting and the scope of everything. But I'm okay with it being just like, here's an X-Men movie. There might be some Avengers in it. They're going to be new actors you've ever seen. There might be a new Avengers movie with different hero, like whatever. I'm down for this. It's fun.
You know when I'll be out? When they do the Onslaught storyline, because then they've run out of ideas.
No, we're out. We're out at that.
They've run out of ideas.
We're out at that.
Can't listen to this nonsense anymore.
You better.
No, because you
better.
B-15. You got that wrong.
Did I say B-14? I did say B-14.
You didn't hear it through the door wrong?
So many times.
Good God.
I wanted to bust in and be like, literally stop running about.
I was one number off on B-15.
This is still Kyle.
Still Kyle. What I am going to say, though, is if you want a good story to read with what we might be getting with Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty, is read Jason Aaron's the last run he did on Avengers. Jason Aaron's Avengers run is dealing with Avengers throughout time, with the last Avenger in time being Loki. So I feel like there's definitely some stuff playing here. I would check that out. It's a great story, but I 10 out of 10.